excited. I'm so excited to finally have access to it. What's up, everybody? I'm gonna give it a couple minutes. And it's working. Oh my God. So, what's up, everybody? If you're new here, my name is Markia. I'm known as the Money Plug here on social media. I'm a board certified credit repair specialist and a credit score consultant. I use my platform to educate people on how to repair their credit, to inspire everybody to go ahead and do it yourself. You don't have to wait around until you got the right amount of money or find the right person. You're the right person. So, I'm super excited. So, if you're watching me on TikTok, it's official. I'm officially like active on YouTube. So it's actually the anniversary of me creating the YouTube channel. And so in honor of that, I really want to start using it a lot more. And so with that being said, I decided to do like a little rebrand, right? So I officially changed the name of the YouTube channel. It's officially called WWTMPD, or What Would the Money Plug Do? I'm super excited for the YouTube and all of the things that I have planned for you guys. I do have a couple videos up, some old ones and some more recent ones. Today, for example, so every Sunday you will get a video on the YouTube channel, and I'm also looking to add another day, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't really kind of ironed that out yet. However, pretty much what's going to end up happening is while TikTok will always be my main platform, I love TikTok and I love my followers. I really want to start using YouTube too, because there are a lot of people who are just not active on Facebook and Instagram. And so I really wanted to give them the option to be able to see my content too. I also rebranded the podcast. So the podcast was renamed as well. It has officially been renamed What Would the Money Plug Do? And I'm really excited for the future, right? So January is almost over. So much has happened this month, including some really dope brand deals. I hope you guys got to see so far, because it's more coming. The podcast dropped, the book dropped. Like, it's just, oh my God, it's kind of like been like one thing after another. So this is really, really exciting. And I'm just super excited for like the other potential it has. So for today's YouTube live, since it's my debut, I really wanted to actually talk about something for once, right? So I want to talk about late payments for a little bit. Sorry, I had a little snack in here. Let's talk about late payments. So I got a lot. This is a question actually I've been getting a lot in the last couple of days, is how do you remove late payments, and why is it important that you remove late payments? And I always tell you guys that in order to understand why something has affected your credit the way it has, you have to understand how your credit score is actually calculated. And so when looking at how your credit score is calculated, it's broken down into percentages usually when you Google it, right? So 35% of your credit score is your on-time payment history. How many of your accounts are you actually paying on time? When we tell you to pay your bills on time, we're not just saying it to be jerks, right? We're saying it because it is actually very important. And when you are late, what has the potential to happen? So if you have an amazing credit profile, never had any issues, and then you're late, you will see a huge drop in your credit score, because it's unusual, right? It's a derogatory account, and there are no other, there's no other derogatory accounts. It's out of the norm. You're going to see a huge drop. 35% of your score is a lot. If you have what is considered a thin credit profile, then you'll see an even bigger effect on your credit profile, simply because you don't have anything else to kind of bury that late payment. And when I mean bury, I mean whenever you have something that don't look as good as everything else around it, you kind of want to cover it up with some good stuff, right? You don't want you want to distract from looking at that. So if you have what is considered a thin credit profile, or if you don't have a lot of accounts on your credit report, then it'll make it a lot harder to distract them from the late payments you do have. So you got to think about it like that. Now, some ways to kind of get rid of, right, or hide late payments. So let's talk, you have to look at it differently. So if it's a late payment on an open account, you have a little bit more wiggle room, as opposed to if it's a late payment on a closed account. Now, if it's a late payment on an open account, I typically tell people your relationship with that lender is key. If this is somebody where you're consistently late, you're not answering their calls, you just don't value the relationship between you and that lender at all, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you no when you try to do this. And again, when you don't have the best credit profile, I talk about this all the time in my content. You have to make sure you have a good relationship with that lender. If you know you are lacking in your credit score, then you want to rely on your relationship that you have with your lender to get you the things that a good credit score would have normally gotten you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for example, let's say you've been with Navy Federal, just because, you know, everybody's obsessed with Navy Federal. Let's say you've been with Navy Federal for 15 years. Hey, Will. Let's say you've been with Navy Federal for 15 years, right? But you just don't have the best score. But Navy Federal is willing to give you credit cards and lines of credit and, things like that because they have a really good relationship with you. And they know your history, right? They see your transactional history. This is your main account. That is what I mean by making sure you have a mutually beneficial relationship between you and your lender. You should not be the only one benefiting from your relationship. Make sure you understand that too. And I'll get back to that in a second. But if you have a good relationship with your lender, then when you have late payments, then the goodwill letter might be your best option to remove them, right? Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It don't work right out the gate. Capital One told me no 3 times before they told me yes. And I had perfect payment history minus the one late payment. And they kept telling me no at first. But the goodwill letter pretty much just states like, hey, I have a really good relationship with you guys. I recommend everybody to you. I love, using this. I tell everybody about your services. And I want to continue having this good relationship with you. It's just that, you're reporting these late payments and I really feel like they're not an accurate depiction of my creditworthiness. This was an anomaly. You can come up with a story if you have one, if you had a real situation. You could probably even provide proof if you're willing to. But you just talk about what caused you to miss those payments? What were you going through at the time? You want to appeal to their humanity, right? Because humans are reading these letters. So you're going to tell them what happened. You're going to say, look, I admit I was late. I have no problem admitting my faults. All I'm asking is these late payments as an act of goodwill, right? That's why it's called the goodwill letter. Now, you will send this directly to the company. I know a lot of y'all like CEO, but you're going to want to send this to the company first. And you're going to want to go back and forth with the company a few times. The reason why I say that is when you guys jump the chain of command, right? When you guys jump the chain of command right there, you piss people off low key because you did not give them the opportunity to handle it at the lowest level. You should only escalate it to the CEO once you've exhausted your other options. You should not jump straight to the CEO, no matter if that's going to get you results or not, because then that kind of tarnishes the relationship that you have with that lender in a sense. Because now they're like, well, you never even came to us. We could have did that. You did not have to do all that. You have no idea what happens in the background when you guys skip customer service and go straight to like the top supervisor, right? So you definitely want to start off at the lowest level possible. Allow them to tell you no if they're going to tell you no. Let them tell you no a couple times until they tell you to stop sending this damn letter. But the most important part about these goodwill letters is that you have to have a history of on-time payments since that last late payment. You can't be late last month and then send a goodwill letter and think that that's just going to change. You have to show them that it wasn't a pattern. You have to show them that this was a one-time thing, that, listen, it was an anomaly. Like, I've never had any issues since then. You see what I'm saying? You have to show them that you mean what you're saying. Kind of put your money where your mouth is. After they tell you no, and if they keep telling you no and telling you it's nothing they can do for you, then you can escalate it to the CEO. And then after that, if it still does not work, then unfortunately, you're stuck with the late payment. But that is not the end. And we'll talk about that after this other part. So removing late payments from, hey, good evening. Removing late payments from closed accounts. Now, I'm going to caveat this by letting you guys know when you guys have closed accounts and you're trying to get anything done to it, whether it's removed or whether you're trying to get late payments taken off or something updated, there's no incentive for these companies to do that because they already got what they want out of you, right? The account is already paid and closed. There's literally no reason for them to have to go back in and update the account. So you got to make it worth their while. If this is an account that you no longer have, but you still have a relationship with this company, that is making it worth their while, right? So you can just ask them, yo, can you remove these late payments? I always tell my clients, it never hurts to ask questions, right? It's very important that you guys understand the power in asking a question, because the worst thing they can tell you is no, right? That's literally the worst thing they can tell you, and it's not a big deal. Now, if that does not work, another option that you had is forcing them to prove that you were in fact late. What you want to do is you want to write a letter to the company and you're going to request a copy of your payment history. Once they mail it to you, right, you're going to go through it. You're going to highlight all of the late payments that they're reporting. You're going to respond to the company. You're going to say, hi, I'm looking at the information that you provided me, and I see here that you're reporting some late payments. Can you please provide me a copy of whatever evidence you have that ties me to these late payments? You're going to make sure that you're very non-combative. You want to make sure that you are actually, kind of chill. You want to come off as the average consumer. You don't want to come off as very aggressive or very litigious, right? You don't want to make it seem like you're a lawyer or anything like that. So after you do that, right? So after you knock that out, and they respond to you, if they provide you the evidence, all right, cool, you're officially stuck with it. It's really nothing you can do. However, if they cannot provide that information, guess what? They have to update the account as paid as agreed. If they cannot provide proof for whatever it is that they're reporting on you, then they have to update that information the way that you requested it to be updated. Now, let's say that, that doesn't work for you. What other option do you have? If you tried everything and they just will not remove the late payments, the only option you have is to identify an inaccuracy in how it's reporting, right? You want to look to see if there are any numbers off, any dates off. You want to check your payment history to look at the statement dates, right? Look at all the monthly statements that they sent you if you still have them. You want to check the dates on those monthly statements. Per the Fair Credit Billing Act, which is a part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? The FCRA that everybody be talking about on social media, everybody's like a professional in it, right? Well, per the FCRA, there's a part in there called the Fair Credit Billing Act that applies to open-end accounts like credit cards or lines of credit. In that act, it specifically states that it is illegal for a company to report late payments unless they can prove that they provided your monthly statements no less than 21 days before your due date. So you're going to want to look at all your monthly statements. You're going to want to look at the dates that each monthly statement was created. And then you're going to want to check to see when was your due date. And if you have to manually calculate it, then that's what you got to do. But these are the do you want to look for these small nuances, these really small, obscure things that the average consumer will overlook? These are going to be what are key to get you what you're looking for, not even just in late payment removals, but just for any action on your credit report, period. So you definitely want to think about that. Oops, sorry, I'm over here touching stuff. Now, I understand that, late payments, this is probably like, for a lot of people, this is the only negative thing that they have on their credit report. So if you've tried everything and they just will not come off, right? What are your options? The option that you have after that is to just honestly try to bury it. Remember, I was talking about that earlier. Add some more accounts to your profile if you have that luxury. So if you're not looking to make a major purchase anytime soon, and you can afford to add another line of credit or something like that, you can do so. The more on-time payments you have that you have reporting every month, the more they're going to bury that late payment. It's not an exact science, but there are some, when you go to search, some things say that 7 on-time payments can cover 1 late payment. So using that same logic, the more on-time payments you have reporting, it'll bury the late payment. It'll prove that that late payment was an anomaly, right? This was something that never happens. This is not like me, I just want you to know that, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. A lot of people use COVID, or, they got laid off during COVID, or they got COVID, that's been a real hot thing with creditors lately. But, whatever excuse you use, you just definitely want to make sure that you appeal to their humanity if you're using these goodwill letters. And accounts that I think you should add if you can't do anything else. So if nothing else is working, what are some accounts, some small accounts that's not really going to do any damage to your credit profile, that are beneficial in more ways than one, right? So of course, y'all know how I am, right? Credit Sesame, I've been doing a lot of research lately, right? Since, someone actually recommended them to me. So I went, let me see if I got it on me actually, because I can prove it to y'all that I even went and got a damn card. Let me see. Yep, here it is right here. My Credit Sesame card, right? So I started checking out Credit Sesame. I opened up an account with them and everything. And honestly, I like it. Credit Sesame has a program where you open up an account with them and you put money on your card and everything, and they'll look at your transactional history and they'll report on-time payments to the credit bureaus. You're not doing anything extra. You're not getting an additional line of credit. It's not taking you out of your norm other than moving your money somewhere else. But this is an option that you have to add on-time payment history without really affecting anything else other than the age of your credit history, right? The average age of your credit. You're not really going to be affecting your credit card utilization. You're not going to have to worry about additional monthly payments. So that is an option that you have. I suggest it to everybody, simply because I've been able to see the benefit myself. Y'all know I hate recommending stuff to y'all that I have not tried myself or seen for myself that it works. So I can honestly vouch for you guys that Credit Sesame actually works. And I even did a video on it. If you guys want to go check it out on my page, there is a video on there where I outlined the features I thought were dope about Credit Sesame, and then I can answer any questions you guys got about any additional features of Credit Sesame. Now, I know everybody thought Credit Sesame, you can only check like your credit scores, but it actually has a lot more stuff on there. thoroughly surprised at how far the company and the app has gone. So I highly suggest you guys download that and check it out. If that's not your cup of tea, if that's not something that you're looking for, maybe one of the other accounts who are very similar to Credit Sesame might be an option for you. But again, me personally, I highly recommend Credit Sesame because it only affects the average age of accounts, because obviously that'll affect that because you're opening up a new line of credit technically, and it'll affect your on-time payment history because this is just another account that's going to report as payments on time. Something else that may help. So for those of you who are renting, have you ever thought about adding your rent payments to your credit profile, right? A lot of people be like, oh, it's no point, blah, blah, blah. But when you add those so for example, rent reporters, right? That's an account that does it. With rent reporters, what they do is they look at your previous rental history, right? Have you been paying everything on time? And they'll report that for you. I think it's up to a certain amount of years. They will report that for you on your credit report. Remember, if on-time payment is 35% of your credit score and they're reporting 2 years worth of on-time payments, that can be nothing but a benefit to you. Literally nothing but a benefit to you. And if you're still renting, then every month when you pay your rent, they'll report these on-time payments for you. Like, this can be nothing. This is another account that you can add to your credit profile that really isn't affecting anything else other than your on-time payment history. So this is going to help those of you who have late payments that just cannot get them taken off. Why does back child support show up as late payments when they take it out of my check weekly? That's something you're going to have to take up with whoever runs your child support. If you want me to be 1,000% honest with you, maybe you're behind a payment because you had new employment or something like that. But for some reason, your state is reporting that your child support is late. That is the only reason why it's reporting as a late payment. You're going to have to go to the source. So in this case, the Department of Child Support for whatever state you live in, that is the reporting company or the creditor, right? So you're going to reach out to them and ask them, why are you reporting these payments as late every week when you're taking out of my check weekly? How am I late if you are snatching the money as soon as I get it? That's what you're going to want to find out. But you're going to have to go directly to the source. You're going to have to ask them and talk to them. I suggest, now listen, I know how y'all love y'all phone calls, because one thing about people nowadays is that y'all love convenience, right? You guys want everything to be quick, to be easy, to be fast. But I'm telling you, you guys are kind of shooting yourself in the foot with these phone calls, because people can tell you anything over the phone. Anything over the phone. And they're the ones recording it. And if you don't live in a one-party consent state, then unfortunately, any recordings you make without their consent cannot be used in court. This is why I do everything by letter. Everybody can call me old fashioned. They can say that I'm just, it takes too long or blah, blah, blah. But I would rather it take long and it gets done properly than for me to try to do shortcuts and it takes me forever to get done and it still doesn't get done anyway. You see what I'm saying? You want to get it in writing, them acknowledging like, oh, yo, this was a mistake. We didn't mean to report these late payments. That way you can send that to the credit bureaus and they can be like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and update this account to paid as agreed. You see what I'm saying? This is one reason why I stress to you guys to make sure you're doing your disputing and things like that in writing, because anything written on a company letterhead, right? Anything written on a company letterhead and signed by an authorized representative of that company is considered a legally binding contract. So if they send you this, a pay to delete, or if they send you something acknowledging that they don't have all of the documentation for for something that you disputed, then legally the credit bureaus are forced to follow the FCRA. So if they don't have what they need to report or collect on a debt, then it cannot be reported. If they acknowledge that your payments were not in fact late, that they were actually on time and it was an error in their system, then the credit bureaus have to update the system to reflect that. You kind of see where I'm going. Plus, it's good to have this for your records as well. You want to keep stuff like this on file for the life of the account. I know a lot of us just kind of like throw pieces of paper in a shoebox and kind of call it a day, but you might want to consider, you guys, look, we too old to be just throwing shit in the drawer and forgetting about it. We need file boxes. We need organization, because for as long as these accounts are reporting to the credit bureaus, you need to have copies of everything regarding these accounts, because they do. How you can't fight fire with fire if you don't even know where you put your fire at. That's another issue I have with y'all. Y'all just don't, a lot of people don't, you cannot go up against the machine if you're not organized. You have to make sure you're organized. You have to make sure you have all your documentation. You have to make sure that you're not, you're not reacting off of emotions. You have to think logically. This is why disputing doesn't work for a lot of people, because all of you are thinking emotionally, right? People be like, well, I want a house next month, so I'm just going to dispute everything and it's going to come off. You're acting emotionally. You're not thinking logically. You're not thinking rationally. That is a very unrealistic time frame. But as much as probably some of y'all are laughing like, this can't be true, I've heard it 1,000 times. Well, I'm already under consideration. I go to the closing table next month. What can you do for me? Absolutely nothing. If you're going to the closing table next month, I can't do nothing for you, miss. Like, unfortunately, and it sucks, but you guys got to start thinking logically and start planning before you start acting. Is there any way to fix a credit score drop from overused credit cards? I've never been late on a payment. So overuse is not going to drop your score. So let's go back to how your credit score is calculated, right? So on-time payment history is 35% of your credit score, right? 30% of your credit score is going to be your credit card utilization. So how much of your available credit overall, not per card, overall are you actually using? 15% of your credit score is going to be the length of your credit history. How long have you been building credit? What is the age of your oldest account? What is the age of your youngest account? 10% is going to be mix of accounts. Do you have a good mix of credit? There's 3 types of credit. There's installment loans, revolving lines of credit, which is lines of credit or credit cards, and then there's charge cards. And then the final category is going to be inquiries. Inquiries are worth 10% of your credit score. So whenever you're having problems like this, where you see a sudden score drop and you're trying to figure out why it dropped and where you can get more points from, you're going to want to evaluate your credit profile as a whole. Break it down into these sections. First, look at your on-time payment history. Have you ever had any late payments? Not just with this account, but any late payments in the last 2 years. Have you seen any? No? Okay, move on to the next section. You mentioned overusing your credit cards. There's no such thing as overusing your credit cards. It's a such thing as not paying it down enough. Credit card utilization is 30% of your credit score. So it's a big part, but this is also the section that is the easiest to manipulate for points, right? I typically tell my clients that when you have a credit card, you want to use it. You want to use every single card that you have. You should not have a credit card that you're not using. If you do, you need to close it. And I'm just being 1,000% honest with you guys. You should not have that I know a lot of you see these people on social media with stacks and stacks of credit cards, and they're flaunting them and flashing them. And I got $500,000 in credit because I got 20 credit cards. You look stupid, because there's no way you're using all of these cards and keeping up with all of these payments. It's no way, unless you're making an exorbitant amount of money. You guys got to start being realistic. A good mix of accounts, right? Because remember, that's 10% of your credit score. A good mix of accounts for the baseline. So you should be starting here. You need at least 3 credit cards, 1 short-term loan, and 1 long-term loan. A short-term loan is an installment loan with a term length of 24 months or less. And then a long-term loan is an installment loan greater than 24 months. That's typically your student loans, your mortgages, your car loans, things like that. Short-term loans is typically like your personal loans with your bank, or something like that, right? Like little small stuff, furniture financing, maybe, those sort of things. Now, when you look at credit cards and, you start applying for these cards because you like the perks, I'm going to be honest with y'all, stay out these fucking credit repair groups. I'm going to be 1,000% honest with y'all. And y'all know that's all I can be with y'all. For those of you on YouTube, I'm sorry for cussing, but that's just kind of like my thing, right? So you should not be applying for cards just because you see them on social media and everybody else has these cards. You should only be adding cards to your profile that benefit you. You need to sit down, identify what your goals are, identify what perks are non-negotiables for you. How much are you willing to pay in an annual fee? Are you willing to pay an annual fee? What is the interest rate that you just cannot deal with? Like, this is a deal breaker for me. You need to sit down and you need to identify these things about yourself before you go into the market looking for a credit card. Otherwise, you're going to look like a tourist at Times Square looking at all the shiny screens, right? I want this and this and this and this, right? You don't need to do that. It's just like it's just like when you go to Target with no money, right? I came in here for one thing and one thing only. I don't need to be looking left. I don't need to be looking right. I need to be looking straight ahead at what I got my eyes on. That's the biggest tip I can give you guys for credit cards. Once you have these cards, you need to make sure you're using them. You need to make sure you have transactional history. Hey, Cecilia. You need to make sure you have transactional history with these accounts. The reason why is because this ensures that this relationship is beneficial, not just for you, but for the credit card company. And what I'm about to say, I know is about to piss some people off, because there's been a couple people who've been making TikToks about me after I say this. And I'm ready for it, because I'm here for it, because I can defend what I said. You should be allowing these companies to charge you interest if you do not have the best credit. And I said what I said. Now, the reason why I said it is, again, you do not have the best credit profile. So you need to make this as beneficial for the lender as it is for you. Now, by allowing them to charge you interest, right, you're giving them money. Otherwise, they're not making any money off of giving you a line of credit. You got to make yourself valuable. If you're not valuable, you're expendable. And they can cut your account whenever they feel like it. That's in the contract. Whenever they deem this account as it's not needed, it's not making us no money, it's not doing nothing for our company, they can close your account. By paying your balance down to 0 every month, you're showing them you don't need the account no way. allow them to charge you interest, but control how much interest they charge you. Now, when you have this transactional history, you should not be using your debit card, actually. You should be only using your credit cards and then using your debit card or your bank account to make payments for everything that you purchased, right? Because this is how you're going to spend the money anyway, right? But you're also getting points and perks and things like that for purchases that you were already going to make. You're not going out of your way to do much of anything other than make a payment, which again, you were going to do anyway. Now, once you racking up these payments and and all this stuff, at the end of every month, at the end of every billing cycle is something known as a statement date. 5 business days before your statement date, you need to be making a payment to lower the due amount to less than 10% overall. So if you have 3 credit cards, right? And one statement date is the 10th, one is the 11th, one is the 12th. What you're going to do, if each credit card has a limit of $1,000, you're going to want to calculate 10% of $3,000 because you have 3 cards with $1,000 apiece. Once you calculate what your 10% is, and I don't know about you, but I use Alexa for my math. Once you calculate your 10%, you're going to spread that amount out on all 3 cards. So if you have 600 on this card, 500 on this card, and 300 on this card, you're going to pay them all down so that you make sure you stay less than what 10% of $3,000 is, right? Not per card. Remember, this is across all of your credit cards. This means that when they go report to the credit bureaus, your credit utilization, they're going to be reporting less than 10%, meaning you're maximizing the amount of points that you're getting from that section. Does that make sense, everybody? This is why I'm so big on you all making sure that you're paying your cards correctly and actually using your cards, because that transactional history and allowing them to charge you interest, no matter how small, but allowing them to charge you interest, it makes you a valued client. So even when you don't have the best credit score, they'll be willing to give you credit limit increases or allowing you to, apply for new cards and telling you you're pre-approved because they see the value in having you as a client. And I'm willing to argue about that. How can I check to see everything that's on? How can you check to see everything that's on your credit report by yourself? By pulling your credit. If you pull your credit, it's not counting against your credit score or anything like that, because you are checking your credit. Now, if you want to, if you're looking to check what's on your report and you don't have a credit monitoring subscription, then I suggest going to www.annualcreditreport.com. I always suggest that. It doesn't necessarily show you credit scores, but you can see everything that's reporting on your account. With annualcreditreport.com, until April 2022, you can get 1 free credit report a week because of COVID. It used to be 1 a year, thanks to the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, or FACTA, that's also in the FCRA. But because of COVID, they kind of amended it so that you can get 1 a week until April 2022. And it might be extended. We're kind of crossing our fingers. Now, if you're looking for your scores, you're probably going to, well, depending on what scores you're looking for, you're going to want to get a credit monitoring subscription. If you think you've been a victim of identity theft, you're going to want to get a credit monitoring subscription. If you just want to be able to check your scores whenever you feel like it, you're going to want to get a credit monitoring subscription. What is a CPN? A CPN is a new social security number, right? But there are very strict requirements for which you qualify for a CPN. It's usually for extreme cases of domestic violence when they have to get away from their abuser. It's typically used for like the witness protection program, or if you have just been so ravaged by identity theft and the government feel, oh, thank you. Somebody said, bless you. Thank you. Or if you've just been ravaged by identity theft and there's no coming back from the damage that they've caused, then that's when a CPN applies for you. If you are buying a CPN from someone just because you fucked your credit up, that is not good reason for you to have a CPN, and you can go to fuck the jail. I'm 1,000% honest with you, because that is considered federal crimes. That's fraud. I'm not saying it to be a hater. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to hold us back or whatever the case may be, which I'm always accused of when I get on these videos and say this. But CPNs, just to have one because your credit is messed up, is illegal, because that's not a good enough reason. There is a very strict requirement when it comes to CPNs, and I really need y'all to start doing your research, because just because so-and-so bought one, they're not going to care when you're sitting down at that table and they're asking you questions. Oh, I didn't know it was illegal. That's not an excuse either. Ignorance of the law is not a justification. You are still going to go to jail, and it's likely that these companies are going to sue you because you got these accounts by fraudulent means. This is why I tell y'all to stay away from CPNs, because it's going to end up shooting you in the foot. This is also why I tell you not to purchase trade lines. The illegal sale or purchase of the intellectual property of these creditors can get you fucked up, can get you sued for a lot of money, not just the money that you got for being added on as an authorized user to these people's accounts. So if you are paying people to get put on their cards as an authorized user, you might want to stop. It's best to do it with family anyway. Family won't only keep you on there for 3 months, right? Even if hey, I give you a couple dollars for doing me this favor, or hey, I'll take care of the bill for doing me this favor. Like, that's fine. But family not going to only keep you on for 3 months and then take you off and your score go right back down anyway. Family will allow you to do what you need to kind of get your credit done anyway. And plus, when it comes to these accounts, they ask you, is this person related to you, or what is your relationship with this person, et cetera, et cetera. Stop committing fraud to try to cut corners and get what you want out of life. Do it right the first time so that you're not consistently looking over your shoulder, wondering when that other shoe is going to drop, or if the other shoe is going to drop. There are legal ways that you can use to repair your credit. You just have to be willing to put the work in. What happens to PPP loan people? Child. Now, there are some people who I haven't seen anybody get, I think I've seen like 2 people get jail time, because I've been trying to like follow the cases online, but I think I've seen a few people get jail time. Of course, we get in jail time, for the most part, I've seen restitution. So you guys are having to pay all that money back. I'm even though I had a legitimate business, I'm so glad I did not do that PPP loan fraud. I wish I knew that lady's TikTok. I watched a TikTok a couple days ago about this lady explaining why all these people are getting hemmed up on PPP loan fraud. Like, what exactly is getting these people in trouble? And the issue was the paperwork. Depending on who filled out your paperwork, you don't know what these people put on your paperwork. And so then when the FBI or whoever is coming and asking questions, you don't know how to answer those questions because you did not fill out the paperwork, or you weren't present when they were entering the information. There's a high-pitched noise in the background. Anybody else hear a high-pitched noise? I don't hear a high-pitched noise because I got y'all in my ear. And let me turn it up. Oh, a ringing. All right, so I ain't even gonna hold you. I thought that was so I have something called tinnitus where I have that constant ringing in my ear. So I thought that was just me. It could be my lights, maybe. Let's test this theory. Y'all still hear it? Do you still hear it? Hold on. Oh, I do hear it. Okay. What is that noise? Hold on. I'm dead. It was that light. I don't hear it no more. Do y'all hear it? I don't hear it anymore. I think it is that light. Okay, we're gonna have to rock with this one for a little bit. Somebody tell me if you, okay, it stopped. Yeah, it's this light. Damn Amazon, I think I'm gonna have to get me a new light. I didn't hear it because I always hear that ringing in my ears. So, my bad. My fault. Okay, hold on, I gotta put this back in, hold on. All right. All right.